Hello and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about why I stopped playing Made in Abyss, Binary Star Falling into Darkness. Um, it's a little bit different of a review here because I usually when I do these I try to finish the games or get as far as I possibly can before I do a review. And a lot of times if I don't get that far in a game, if I don't do real well in it or something, I'm just like, I'm not into it, I'm not liking it, whatever. I just won't review it. I'll just be like, yeah, it's fine. I can review stuff I actually finish, right? But um, for this one, I feel like I had a lot to say, even though I'm not going to finish playing it, and even though I probably could play more and get further, just I want you to be aware ahead of time that yes, I've only put so many hours into it. I'm not really that far into it. It could get much better or worse or different depending on how far you go with the game. So definitely just know that going in, and also be aware that this is like I'm going to assume you know about Made in Abyss already if you're going into this. I would not recommend getting this to try to get into Made in Abyss. Watch the show, read the manga. I watched the show before doing this, so do one of those. And if you're into it, then maybe consider this. If not, don't use this as your introduction to the series. Um, so with that in mind, I guess we can just kind of start out here and let me explain myself. So, Made in Abyss, Binary Star Falling into Darkness. This is basically like it's like an action RPG, survival crafting adventure game, and it's based on the anime and the manga of the Made in Abyss name. There are two modes in the game. You start off. There's the Hello Abyss mode. Let's start there. So Hello Abyss is basically playing through the events of the show from the beginning, playing as Reg and Rico, up until the ends with the stuff at the end of the Seeker camp. That's where the events stop. Um, and So you have this kind of doing some recreations of the things that are happening from the show, with the voice actors and stuff in there as well. And that's cool. And I was really excited when this first started. I was like, sounds like such a cool idea to have a game based on this because just watching the show, they had it kind of laid out in a way that made it seem like this would make a really interesting like progression for like doing levels and going down the different layers and things and finding monsters and stuff. That sounds like a really cool idea for a video game. And then they made one, so it seemed like it was really a really easy win, right? And when I first started playing, it was pretty cool. I mean, like visually, it does look a bit like kind of like a early PS2 game. It's a little bit low poly with the details, but it's kind of charming in that way as well, at least to me. And you basically, on top of doing the basic story stuff as well, it tries to serve as a tutorial for how you're going to play the main game. So what you do is usually get some kind of a mission with some objectives to do on your raids, on your dive down, and you go down and you might have to collect a certain number of materials or kill some enemies, or you might need to just explore an area, things like that. While still trying to find relics, you're trying to get stuff so you can craft things. You're trying to fight off enemies. You're trying to survive. And ultimately, you want to also bring those relics back to get money to buy more stuff like materials and things in the shops up on the surface. It's you have to manage meters. Like there's like a food meter you have to eat. There's a stamina meter. There's a health meter. You have to manage these things as you're going as well. Again, it's some typical survival stuff you would see in video games. So nothing too crazy there. And You are given like at least some semblance of freedom to kind of explore and go around and do things while you're down here. And Then basically you do that, and then you go back up. Ascending is another thing though, is because they actually have the whole Curse of Abyss thing, where ascending can like hurt you. They've actually made that a gameplay mechanic, which is really cool because it's like I didn't think they would even bother to do that or how they would address that. But yeah, there's like a thing that shows how much your current altitude, and so if you try to go up too quickly, you will start to have a blurry vision. You'll be puking. You'll start like hurting. You eventually will actually just die from doing this. And so I think it's really interesting they implemented that into there. And in fact, that might sound like kind of like a little bit much. They don't really skimp on some of the gruesome stuff of like it's very easy to die. You can very easily die in this, which again makes sense with kind of the source material stuff. It's a, you can just fall off a big cliff and die. You can get attacked by enemies and die. You can starve to death and die. You can get too much of the curse and die. You definitely can die in this. They aren't shying away from that. And there's that aspect to it. Although they weirdly do shy away from, talking about Reg's penis all the time. I guess it's not weird that they shy away from it. It's probably weirder that the source material focuses on it so much. But it is suspiciously absent here, considering the source material. I'll just throw that out there. It's okay if it was really violent, but that part there, that's we can't mention Reg's rod. That would be irredeemable. So you go back up whatever to the town. You follow the story stuff until eventually you have to get to the point where you're going on your final dive. Essentially, where Rico and Reg are like, all right, well, we're leaving, and we don't want anyone. We're not coming back up. And at this point, I think this is when the tutorial really kind of falls off a cliff. There's already some other bits here where the tutorial really doesn't make sense because they talk about being able to like use your binocular to like see enemies and identify them, and it'll like put down information in your journal. You can't check your journal in Hello Abyss mode. They talk about being able to level up to get different like crafting recipes and stuff, and being able to like have more abilities and whatnot. You can't level up in the tutorial either. So I don't know why they mention being able to do these things in the tutorial where they don't let you do them at all. Why not let you sort of do them in a scripted way or not mention them, I guess. It seems weird to do a half measure here. It's just more confusing that way because it feels like, am I doing something wrong? Is the game broken? I don't know. I can overlook the PS2 style of the low poly visuals, early PS2 game. I can overlook that, characters are just saying the same lines over and over again. Sometimes with some context to make them want to repeat that line out loud, like, oh, there's an enemy, they'll say whatever. But sometimes it just feels like you're just idly doing whatever. They just feel like they have to say something because they exist. I don't know. I can deal with that stuff. But these things seem like kind of big problems to have in your tutorial when it's not really showing you how to play the main part of this. And also it doesn't really teach you much of the gameplay loop anymore because after like the first whatever like raid or whatever, you do a little bit of like, oh yeah, go down, do a couple of like dives to do the simple thing. But once you do that final dive, getting relics is pointless, even though that's going to be like the main drive of the main game, is you're going to need those to get more money to do more things. That's whole part of the whole gameplay loop. We're just not going to do that anymore. That seems like a weird call. Again, it makes sense narratively, but it doesn't really make sense as a tutorial for the main game. Luckily, they do actually do this thing where they have a deep in abyss mode. This is the main actual game of this. The tutorial is also pretty long. It's like a few hours long of doing that story stuff. So it's not like long enough or satisfying enough to be like its own just standalone campaign. For just an actual like, I played the game and beat it, Hello Abyss would be too short. But then Deep in Abyss is where the main game really gets going. And here you actually can level stuff up. You can do the gameplay loop of bringing stuff back up and getting the money, getting more materials, crafting things, getting more abilities, more items you can craft, being able to just do more things. Being able to log monsters in your journal and stuff, right? So you can actually do the stuff that's exciting, really getting to explore the world, seeing new creatures, and you actually get to experience this all new story. You get to create your own cave raider. You have these new characters that are your friends here in your little like group, and you've also got some of the main characters that were left behind in the main show that you don't really see that much. They're up there, and this basically takes place after Rico and Reg have already gone down. Um, and Also, quick side note: the quality control on this, they've done an update so that you don't have to actually play Hello Abyss mode in order to play Deep in Abyss mode anymore. That was originally you had to do that, but now you don't have to do that to unlock it. They managed to change that detail, but they still misspell Rico's name on the main screen when you're selecting things to do the main campaign. They decided to. They didn't need to fix that. I guess nobody looks at that every time they start the thing up. So interesting choice there, but it's taking place once, yeah, in the events of like after Rico and Reg are gone. And then this new group is here, and they're trying to kind of become their own cave raiders, do their own things, and this original story stuff seemed really interesting. In fact, the whole thing here, really, like I say, it's a really interesting what they want to do with this. But this is where you start to see the problems creep in even more, in the fact that it's very difficult and it's very tedious. It becomes a chore when you're going down. You have to, even like I guess here, like before, you couldn't even use ropes. That's another thing you couldn't do in the tutorial of Hello Abyss mode. You couldn't use ropes. Here, you can at least make ropes and use those to scale down stuff. But like, yeah, like there's just a lot of those things you couldn't do in the tutorial thing. You get to actually do here and see, and they actually sort of hands-on experience teaches you, I guess. And I get that thematically it makes sense that this game would be hard, right? It makes sense that it would be, hard to do a lot of these things. Cave raiding wouldn't be easy, especially for children. But I think that while that stuff makes good on paper, theoretically, thematically, I think in practice, in play, it doesn't really work as well for like a fun game, because a game has some kind of expectation to be fun. And so it gets really frustrating to have to be really tedious about, like, I have to make sure I have enough food and eating food, make sure I have stuff in my backpack, but not too much stuff, because then I'll be encumbered and I'll be like, I can't climb anything, I can't run, I can't do a whole lot. When I eat food, I have to sit here and or use a healing item or anything. I have to sit here and wait for my character to do it in real time, leaving me vulnerable. And if I get hit at any point during that, it cancels it. So it's just like, it's annoying, it's tedious, it's difficult. I can't move up too quickly, or I'm going to get the Curse of the Abyss thing on me, so I have to very meticulously move upwards, be very careful about how I do that, be very patient. And so it's just slow, it's tedious, it's annoying, and gathering stuff and crafting stuff. Crafting stuff is good, but you don't always want to craft stuff right away, because what if you need those materials for something else? But raw materials are heavier than the crafted, finished products of things, and you want to have all these relics to bring back up to have more money, but you only carry so many relics with you, so you get rid of relics to get rid of the other stuff. What do you need to survive? What do you need to progress? What are your missions? You want to explore more areas, but the further you go out to explore and see things, you can't, you're risking more stuff that you're losing if you're out there and you just die. It's getting more difficult to come all the way back and all the way back up. Even the ability to save while you're out on a dig or whatever, when you're out there on a mission, you have to use these balloons that you have to either buy or find broken ones and crash them into working ones and use those, or like a commodity. So a lot of this just kind of wraps itself up into this thing that's like just really cool. A lot of potential as a thing to actually do and play, but ends up just not being that fun to actually do. That's basically why I stopped playing Made in Abyss, Binary Star Falling into Darkness. It's such a cool concept. I want to explore the world. I want to see this story. It would be cool to see somebody else do a let's play of it, maybe, if they have the patience for it. But the tutorial doesn't really teach you much about the main game, and it goes on for a while without a satisfying end. The main game is so tedious, even in these early stages, that it's going to turn away most players from even getting to the meat of something better, if there is something like that later on. And I think ultimately it's just not doing necessarily a whole lot for the people that basically really liked, the show or the manga. They want to be like, I want to play that. It would be so cool to be able to play that and explore that world myself and see new stuff happening in it that I haven't seen before. And I really think that they like retooled this or like a sequel or something to be like um, less focused on the really tedious survival elements of it, limiting you and making it really just annoying to play and frustrating and difficult to play. Even if that does work better thematically, and I do appreciate that, I think that they could focus instead more on the whole RPG element and the looting element and just make it a generally more enjoyable experience, even if it's like less true thematically to the the harshness of the subject matter and the source material. I think that would be a good way to go about it, personally. But maybe that's just me. I'm admittedly not a big fan of the survival genre, having to manage meters and craft a bunch of things and do all of this stuff anyway. So maybe if you are, it's not that bad. Maybe if you like games that are really hard, it's not that bad. But I'm just not really that audience. I'm not that crowd. I'm not that guy. And so I ended up, just being like, I'm probably not going to play the rest of this. As much as I am interested, as much as I do like the concept, I like the idea, I can't. I can't bring myself to do it. And I think that's okay. In fact, to give you an idea of how excited I was about it, is that I got, the collector's edition of it. I got the Switch one. It got a little banged up in transport. But I feel bad now that I got this because I now have a really nice edition of a game that I can't bring myself to even finish. But I think that's okay because, like I mentioned, I'm a real person, and sometimes real people don't love a game enough to finish playing it, and that just happens. So, if you have played this game, what do you think of it? Right? Like I said with the recommendation in the beginning, I'm just gonna say it again quick. Don't get this to get into Made in Abyss. Only get this if you're a really big fan of Made in Abyss, and maybe this will be good enough to enjoy it. But it depends on your taste in games as well. And what if you have played this game? What did you think of it? Did you beat it? How far did you get? Tell me what you think about it. I think it would be neat to have some back and forth on this, because I felt like it's an interesting one that I didn't hear a whole lot about, but I feel like I had a lot to say about because of how much I was interested, how much potential it does have, and how much I think it kind of just let me down during that. I don't think it was all just me. It was part me, part the game. That is the problem, I think. And also, if there's any other games that you've played that you feel like you've had this experience with, where you started playing it and you were really excited about it, you really wanted to like it, and you think that it's really close to being something you would really enjoy, but there's enough there to just keep you from playing through it, from going through with the whole thing, from really just enjoying it enough to finish it. That would be really interesting to hear about that. Have some back and forth in the comments, and also, do you think this is worth doing as like a regular thing? Do you like this as real person reviews? Should the why I stopped playing thing be its own thing? I don't know if I want to make a spin-off series or just do a couple more of these. There are plenty of games that I've had over the years that are like this, and I have at least one more in mind that I might do one of these on. But how do you feel about thoughts and opinions on games that people don't finish or even get super far into? That would all be, all that feedback and everything and the conversations, all that would be really appreciated. That would be cool. So, I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah. Also, I think the footage you saw was the Hello Abyss mode because it's so many hours. Let's play that so I don't spoil the Deep in Abyss mode, I guess, for people who do want to play it. Season 3 really just can't come soon enough, can it?